It is such a high. It is unlike any high I've ever experienced before. It's shocking, again, what these cars can do. And I think the first week, first month, is really just learning to trust the car. The car will do it. The car will stick to the ground. The car will brake. Just trust the car. And this was a constant mantra with me. So if you're going down a straight and you have it pinned, and they tell you can brake at the 75-yard marker, and I mean, when you brake, it's like you put, all your force into it, and this car will slow down in time. You could go from 180 miles an hour to 40 miles an hour, like that, in the shape of that amount of space. And to trust that the car is going to stop, even when you're heading for a wall, is something your mind, you got to make the switch. The second one is that the car sticks in these high-speed corners. That's the most shocking. You just think there's no, any other car is gonna roll. These things, it's the more you put into them, the more it gets compacted to the ground, the better it sticks, the faster you can whip around this corner. And I mean, by the end of it all, we were hitting speeds that just felt like, the physics of it all just wanted to rip your head from your shoulders. It was so awesome, so staggeringly awesome, what these cars can do. My first moment of filming is at Silverstone, race weekend, in front of 120,000 fans. And we had to prove to F1 that we could slot ourselves into the race weekend because it is military precision, it is to the minute. And so we had a 20-minute slot where we could go out on quali day in front of the fans and film ourselves. That first weekend, just feeling like we're on hallowed ground, and we are stepping into a sport that is so revered and treated like religion and has such a profound history to it. So it's very humbling, and we just wanted to make sure we didn't get in anyone's way, they were still could focus on what they needed to do, and we could tell our story as embedded into this race schedule. By the end of it, whatever it was, a year and a half later, it just felt like our own backyard. We'd been there so long. We'd had a lot of talks with the guys. Everyone had been really gracious with us, the teams, and we had a lot of laughs, and we felt oddly a part of it. I love that Javier. We were really, really lucky to get him. He's one of our best, and you watch this guy, he's just so inventive. Each take, there's the movie, there's a take that ends up in the movie, and then there's a whole series of takes that we get to see. And he's one of those guys that is always like ratcheting it up, pulling it down, trying this, trying that, and it's really inventive, and it's really fun to watch. And Lewis came on, then it was a go, and it was a simple phone call for me. And I remember we sat down that first time, and that's less about racing and more about just sitting with a gem of a human being. There's a reason champions are made, I think, beyond just talent, and it's also how they carry themselves and how they face the world. And he is just a gem and a gent, really. And then you come to the expertise that he has brought to this thing, and he would give us like 12 hours in a day, and we would just sit and just query and throw questions at him, and what about this? And he really helped shape this film.
Joe Kosinski and Jerry Bruckheimer are bringing the excitement that we all shared and had while watching Top Gun Maverick on a big screen into the racetrack and into the Formula One world. And to a point where we are so inside the real F1 world that is kind of crazy. When we were shooting it, to be among all the real drivers in the real racetracks, in the real competitions, having Brad and Damson driving the real tracks with the real cars, it's like, it can't get better than this. It has a heart and it has motive about really what it means to be comrades, what it means to really sacrifice yourself for a team, for the best of others, and for a group of people to win together rather than just get the victory just for yourself. It's an exercise about really sacrificing yourself in order to belong to something greater than your own ego. They go fast and they love it. And then I was talking to the Formula One driver that has been helping them since months prior to shooting this movie, and he told me, beyond the F1 drivers that I know, they are the best drivers I've seen, which is a lot to say for a Formula One driver. They are committed. They are committed, both Brad and Damson, to make it real, and they are relentless, and they don't stop, and they love getting on the track. The thing with Joe, the director, is that he comes to set every day. He's super nice with everyone. He's super cool. He always had a smile on his face. He's dealing with many aspects of the shooting, many aspects of the production that I cannot even imagine. And he's super tranquil. He's giving the actors all the time that they need. He's giving great acting direction, great tips that really changes the whole aspect of the scene for you. He gives you different opportunities to try different things, but he knows exactly what he's looking for. And then he puts all the things together, and it's absolutely mesmerizing. It's a great experience to be on a theater, sharing the same movie with an audience, the sound, the images, the story, to feel like protected by a group of people that are having the same experience at the same time than you, and watching a movie that is done exclusively for them to have that experience on a big screen. And I think this movie is gonna be one of those that you cannot miss on the biggest screen possible, because the quality of sound, visuals, colors, everything is gonna be absolutely transfixed. I truly admire him. I mean, he's a fantastic actor. He has done really great work through the years, and being able to be close to him, feel like, wow, it's amazing that I can share some scenes with this guy who I happen to admire so much. And then after knowing him even more, because he couldn't be sweeter and nicer. We have played quite a few good scenes where we both had to play with each other, and it was a delight. It was a delight to be in front of him and to feel that energy of creative something together without us knowing where it will take us, and be fine with that. And not only be fine with that, but really like encouraging each other to really go whatever it takes us. And that's beautiful.
I've been racing for 32 years, and I've loved the sport since I was 5 years old. When we came across there was this moment where I got to speak with Joe about this potential project, Joe and Jerry, who asked me to come on board, and I jumped at the opportunity. And to be honest, I'd been really trying to figure out what could be a stepping stone from racing one day, a kind of a side stepping stone of something I'm also really passionate about. And movies is one of those things that I love pretty much as I do racing. And so I got this opportunity to go back in the background, where I got to meet up with Jerry and Joe at Jerry's office, the legend himself, and meet with Brad and go through this script. And it was all a big learning process for me. I'm learning how they like to work, all the processes that go in place to build and create a movie. I never in a million years thought I'd get to work with Brad Pitt. I've seen all of his movies, huge fan, and I think getting to the first time I I met him, I was in Jerry's office and we were going through casting, and Brad was on Zoom, so got to meet him in that split second. But then we got to go to a track and I got to drive around with him. I got to learn that he's massively into motorsport and particularly bikes. But then when we went round the track, I realized he's got an underlying ability actually to really drive, and I know it's a real passion of his to get behind the steering wheel. Having these two both go through the process of the mental challenges that we go through as racing drivers, the speed in which you're taking information in, also the effect of the body, how strong the brakes are, the G-forces. I think it was really important for them. You can't get that. You can't fake that. If you've not experienced it, you can't imagine. And so I think it's really important, and they were so open-minded that, as I said, Brad, I think, had been following racing for some time, so he already generally had a bit of an idea. I think he had done some track days maybe before, so he kind of already had the gist of lines that you could take. But then when he got into the race cars, he realized it was even a bigger step from there. And then Damson started from scratch completely. Has never done any track time, not knowing any lines, and so maybe even a steeper curve for him. But I think both of them got real appreciation for what being a racing driver and really means, and that's what you get to see in the film. Apex didn't stick out like a sore thumb. It was done so well. I think the approach from the whole team, everyone was so professional. Some people were racing fans before, and I think some were new to it and gained a lot of appreciation during the journey of being able to film at real races. This wasn't a set. It's like unheard of. There's obviously some of the technology that Joe used when he did Maverick with the fighter jets. He's able to bring part of that technology into this, but also develop it and take it to another level. I think it was really neat. I remember there was one moment actually. It was Budapest. In 2023, and I got out the car after the race, and I hadn't even realized they were filming, if I'm really honest. But I went over to Brad, and I went over and like fist bumped him or something like that. My emotions were going crazy because I just finished the race, so I wasn't really thinking. But afterwards, like, you got in the way of the shot. But it was really cool how they were there filming live, like. But they were never in a way, so it was really cool. I really wanted to make sure the film the cast was diverse, and making sure that women are seen on screen. So we've got the engineer, we've got the aerodynamicist, for example, she also works in strategy, but also one of the mechanics that's in the pit stop is a woman, and and then you've got just diverse characters. I want people that are watching there's a place for me there. And so maybe for kids, they got to get into STEM to become engineers. And so there's a big knock-on effect of the possibilities and the positive effects hopefully it'll have. You're going to be on the edge of your seat watching this film, because the sound, you've got Hans Zimmer, you've got the effects, the backfiring of the exhaust. You're going to feel the adrenaline through this movie. And I've watched it several times, obviously, as we've been editing and working on it, and each time I get that feeling. So I know it's real, and I really, really know people are gonna get to feel that also. And that whole mixture of different worlds, we've just got the mixture of emotions, the romance, the fights that you see, the close contact. it's definitely gonna raise some hairs, I think, on people's arms.
Lewis Hamilton has been involved every step of the way, from creating the original story with me to getting every detail of the cars, from what gear you're in to what it sounds like when you're on the back straight, and has just been invaluable in getting this right. Rather than having a stunt driver actually controlling the cars, in this film, Brad and Damson are driving the cars by themselves. These are not special effects rigs. These aren't movie cars that are made to look like real race cars. These are race cars from the start that we developed, working hand in hand with AMG Mercedes, their designers and engineers, to build a race car specifically for making this movie. Lewis said to me, I've never seen a film that captures the experience of being in the car. So that was the goal. Just because of how we shot it, the fact it shot for real, Brad and Damson trained for months to be able to drive these cars. I think audiences are going to get a perspective of what it's like to be in one of these machines. It's the sound, it's what you're seeing, the feeling, the speed was the most important thing. These both of them are traveling, at ridiculous speeds around these tracks, and we used every tool we could to capture that. So you're going to see, camera angles and points of view that you've never seen before. I think we were able to capture something you can't even get from the broadcast of watching a real race. I mean, we're able to put cameras in places the broadcast can't. We're shooting with real film quality cameras that just give you a different experience from what you're used to seeing on TV. So when it's all said and done, I hope audiences get at least a fraction of what Lewis is experiencing when he's in a Grand Prix. One of the themes of this film is about teamwork, and you can't, a Formula One driver can't win a race by themselves. You need that support system behind you. I mean, there are literally thousands of people that work and build and design these cars, set them up. You've got, dozens of engineers on race day, monitoring every system. So this film, it's really about the team bringing a group of people together to do the impossible, which is try to win a Formula One race against, the titans of the sport. You've got Apex GP going against Ferrari and Mercedes and McLaren. These are legendary names, and there's a reason why they are the titans of the sport. So, for Apex GP, they really are, it's an underdog story. And Sonny Hayes and Joshua Pierce, they have to find a way to work together. And that's kind of the struggle at the heart of the film. You just can't fake what we were trying to capture. There's just no way that you can do it. You can't do it on a sound stage, and I don't think you can do it even if you build a race car with a stunt driver that was driving it for them. What you're going to see in this film is not only the physical effects, but you're going to see the intense concentration in their eyes. They are acting, when you see them driving, in that they're playing a character, but they're kind of not acting because they're really driving. And that's, again, something you just can't fake. The concentration, the exertion is all right there on the screen. And, after, a few hours of filming, they'd both be wiped out. There's only so much shooting you could do every day because it is so physically grueling to do it. There's no way we could have made this film without the tight partnership with Formula One. I mean, without the access we had, there's no way we could have pulled these scenes off. And the access they gave us was more than I could have ever dreamed of. I mean, we had a garage for Apex GP between Ferrari and Mercedes during the Silverstone Grand Prix. We had a garage in Abu Dhabi as well, and we were functioning just like another Formula One team during these races, doing pit stops, racing between sessions. We invited all the other teams to come visit us, on set, and I think they were all impressed with just how realistic our garage was. You make a movie like this that's so immersive, it's fun to watch how the cast can kind of become their characters and they start acting like in this case, a real Formula One team. We're traveling around the world together, going to all these races, shooting on the pit wall during real races, and it is like we became a real team. And so there's that camaraderie that's built behind the scenes. It starts to, you can feel it on screen as well, and it just makes them all feel very naturally connected. And from a director, I think that's one of the most gratifying things, is to see those friendships form off screen and see how that's reflected on screen. And this movie took 18 months to film, and we built some really strong friendships and connections over the course of that. And I think you'll see that on screen. That is, he's one of he's like a national treasure. He's an icon. And I wanted this character to be iconic as well. So for me, this is kind of like the character I always wanted to see Brad play. So to be able to get to do that with him and see what he brings to Sonny Hayes has been an incredible experience. It just feels like it's a role that's made for him, and he took it and made it into so much more. He's an icon for a reason. He works very hard. He's involved in every aspect of the filmmaking process. He's also a great producer, and working with him, you see why. He's involved in every aspect of the script and putting the movie together, and has a very strong point of view and great taste, and is just great to work with, and always had a really strong sense of who Sonny Hayes was and what he wanted to bring to the character. And then on top of that all, he was just, again, a naturally talented driver.
We're first introduced to Kate. She's working for Apex, and they're a losing team. It's like been 2.5 seasons, and they've got 0 points, so they're on the vibe is not good at the beginning of the movie. And I think her confidence is pretty low because the car that she has designed is referenced as a shit box and is not doing well, and there's problems with the car. So I think she's a kind of losing confidence in herself, and she's the technical director of the team, so that's a big responsibility. Joe he's so prepared, like insanely prepared, but not rigid in how he's prepared. He's so collaborative. He's so respectful of everybody. He's such good manners just as a person, but also his attention to detail is incredible. Like today we were doing a close-up of a page of a paper, and he stopped halfway through. He's like, yeah, we need new paper because it's getting crumply. I know that a lot of people wouldn't think of that, and it's these tiny little details. He also is extremely intelligent, which I think you need to be extremely intelligent when you're dealing with this sort of camera shots and this sort of a technical movie. It's not all set in one location, so you know what I mean. It's extremely technical, extremely hard, so you have to be extremely intelligent to handle something like this. But also there was a thing that I didn't predict about Joe, where he really, really encouraged us and me to have fun. It was kind of cool when he came to set. I'm not gonna lie, you could tell when Lewis was on set. There was a vibe when Lewis would come and visit. But I had to ask him so many things. It was always very brief, and I was always working when he comes to set, so I couldn't really get to talk to him. There was so many things I wanted to ask him, and hopefully I will get to ask him. But he's such a gentle fella and just so well mannered as well, and so positive. He's such a positive person. That's what I'm saying. It's like being around people who are really great. It's just like so inspiring. Their attitude is so inspiring. Working along Brad, he's so natural. That was something that I really like found when I was in the scenes with him. Like, he's just so natural. It's crazy. Sometimes it's like, I feel like it's like it's hard to tell when he's acting. Like, it just seems so natural and very in the moment. He's a very in the moment actor, and I'm very in the moment actor, and that's so much fun. It'll be full of action, but there's also a bit of romance for the ladies. Because I'm a sucker for a bit of romance in movies. So there's a bit of romance, and then it's also quite funny too. Like, there's we had some great writers come on board with the script, so it's quite funny and light. I am excited to see the racing in the cinema, though. I think I will want to see that in the cinema, because I think you're going to feel like you're in a car. And I want to appreciate all the camera work.
The reason why I wanted to be a part of it, aside with working with all the creatives, was I really related to Joshua. I really felt like I knew him, and it became a compulsion of mine to protect him and to show him to the world in his best light. I could relate to being an underdog, a rookie, a young actor, and having a need to want to prove yourself so badly, and I think that is what Josh was going through. F1 the movie follows the character of Sonny Hayes, a down and out ex-F1 driver who's been given the opportunity to return to the sport to help a back of the grid fictional team by the name of Apex win their first race. His ex-teammate and team owner, Ruben Cervantes, played by the amazing Javier Bardem, informs Sonny Hayes, played by the spectacular Brad Pitt, that the team has a young phenom, a talented rookie, played by yours truly, called Joshua Pierce, who just lacks the confidence and leadership and maturity to really push the team to the next level. So this is where Brad's character comes in to try and assist the team. The movie follows the remaining 9 races, starting from Silverstone, and essentially follows this back of the grid team trying to accomplish this goal. Brad Pitt is the perfect actor to portray Sonny Hayes because he is one of the most humble, giving actors I've ever had the experience of working with. He's charming, he's talented, he's unpredictable, like Sonny, and he's the ultimate collaborator, and he just wants you to win. And just the dynamic between the two of us has been so amazing for me personally, because, you know, he sees me as next up and he's supporting that, you know, and he's giving me ideas and he's giving me pointers and he's encouraging me, he's congratulating me. And I think that's a dynamic that's building amongst Joshua and Sonny too. So the relationship is really organic and it's really authentic. The chemistry is just seamless. Working with Brad Pitt is easy. First of all, I feel it in my cheekbones. But I remember Joe saying, and Jerry, you're never gonna see speed like this in any other film. And from seeing so much of the footage and the driving sequences, it definitely looks rapid. So I think the camera crew have just done an extraordinary job at that. And you know, we're driving with all of these camera mounts on, but we're really capturing everything, you know, from the apexes to the crowd, everything's just whizzing by. You know what track you're on. It's so authentic, it's so real, but the speed is one thing that, especially in IMAX, I can't wait for people to experience. You've got a packed stadium, you've got other drivers and other racing teams who are doing what they do every week. And then here you are trying to film a movie in a slot of 10 minutes. The pressure's definitely on. I always remember to have fun. But in all things, I think the focus is to remember that we're trying to create something great, and that's going to come with challenges. And we always pull it off. We have always pulled it off, whether it was in Budapest, Monza, Abu Dhabi, Silverstone. Those 10-minute slots are really remarkable, and it's brilliant that Formula One gave us that time. The biggest highlight for me in working with the amazing Joe Kosinski is not only how much of a visionary he is, for just how collaborative he is. As a young actor on a movie of this magnitude, you wouldn't necessarily think you could be afforded the luxury of actually having ideas and having an opinion and being able to rework scenes and give ideas. And I think Joe just welcomes all of that. He's such a sponge to creativity, and I just couldn't imagine anyone else directing this film. He's so giving, he's so humble, and you know, the process of this movie has been a challenging one, and every step of the way Joe's had a smile on his face. So it's amazing to be underneath such a great leader.
The whole project came about because Joe Kosinski and I worked on Top Gun together. And Joe came to me and he said, I got this idea about doing a Formula One movie. And he pitched me the story and had a really well worked out story. And he said, you know what we should do? Listen, the #1 driver, 7-time world championship, is Lewis Hamilton. And I've met him through Tom Cruise because he wanted to be in Top Gun. But when I spoke to him and I laid out our schedule, he said, well, I got to take care of my day job, so I got to do all these races. But I would love to be in the movie, but it's too long a time span for me. But he said, I will come on and help you. I'll produce it with you. I'll do whatever you need. And that was our entree into how do we get this movie made. You had to have Lewis Hamilton involved in this. He is obviously one of the greatest drivers ever. What Joe wanted is real authenticity. He wanted to make the best racing movie ever made. In order to do that, you have to put your actors in the cars. It's dangerous, it's exciting, but it's the only way to make the movie. And when you see the film, you'll see both our actors actually driving these really powerful engines and cars. It's really an immersive experience. The audience is going to feel what it's like to be in an F1 car driving at phenomenal speeds going around these unique racetracks. Joe Kosinski, among a lot of things, he's an enormously talented director, but his casting is amazing. And he put together this eclectic group of actors that had to actually become pit crew. They had to learn about Formula One. They had to put enormous amount of hours in training and figuring out how to change tires and about the engines and travel with us to these 9 different races. And it became like a camp, like a family. They all became part of our family. And that was so much fun about making this movie. We have a lot of the drivers in the film, the actual drivers for F1. They became a part of it. They became very excited, skeptical at first, but once they saw what we were doing, they were all in. Well, you're a crowd of, I can't tell you how many, 40 or 50,000 people watching you on the grid with our actors and our cars lined up with all the great drivers and all the great teams for F1. It put a chill down your spine. It was really something special. Joe Kosinski is somebody who made an enormous successful movie with us, Top Gun Maverick. And he understands how you blend action and drama and reality. It's something that is a gift that you have as a director. And also he tends into the humorous situation too. He likes to add sprinkle humor and reality to it. But what he wanted to do was make an authentic movie. And that's why you want Joe, because it's authentic, you believe it. It's something that audiences will want to get in their car and rev it up when they're done. It's pretty exciting when you walk out of the theater. You feel something, it's emotional.
I had to meet team principals in Italy. While they were setting up to drive. I mean, I came there while they have all this going on, and team principal, they have, quite of a job. And they had time to meet with me, to invite me, to listen to what they could help with. What? So, what can you help with? I said, nothing, just be, this is a help, enough. Because, the preparation for me is about senses and feelings. So one thing I can see through the internet, another thing is just to be together so close with another human that actually is doing what my character is doing. That is everything I need. And also the openness of I was allowed, because of team principle, to go everywhere. So I could actually just go around and smell and touch and listen and see. And that was, for me, the preparing of Kasper Smolinski's part. When I saw Brad Pitt and Dempsey drive the first time, I saw them, they have been driving before that, but I saw them drive the first time. Wow, I was shocked. The fun stuff is that that I've been following them driving the first time in Silverstone, and then they go next day, and they get more and more intense, and they drive more and more faster. And that development I saw from the first drive with them was incredible, how they dare to push it even more and more and more. My team haven't won any point, got any point for so many years that my boss and his investors have to back out. So this is our last chance. This year of driving is our last chance. It's my last chance as team principal to have a team, to have Hamilton integrated in this, everything. I mean, what have been achieved through his driving, and then connect with a man, human, that did that. Wow. I mean, it can only bring us to the next level, and the next level. And what he brought in as a producer to support us just being there and showing up and open up his mindset and heart and believe on it. The driving and what Joe and the team have been doing. You know, if you have seen Top Gun, come on, this is Top Gun on the ground. I'm gonna look forward to see it. I mean, I can't wait to see it, and it's gonna be showed in IMAX. Unbelievable.
What's exciting about the film is that we take the audience, behind the scenes. You see, how the magic happens, really, and the kind of emotions and feelings and challenges that go on. I think probably from the outside, sometimes the sport can feel, kind of monolithic in a way, but I think it's also a very human sport. It's about lots of ordinary people trying to do something extraordinary, and so hopefully this film will sort of bring an audience closer to that. The first thoughts on reading the script were, it's just a lot of fun. I think it's funny, it's characterful, it's human. I think there's a lot of relatability, even though it's a very unusual world that people don't know about. I think there's a lot of interesting and likable and understandable kind of people within it. Obviously it's a piece of fiction, but because of the access that F1 have given the film, the hope is that we'll have a real authenticity to it. So I think it will work both for people who are fans of F1, because I think it will work on that level, but also hopefully for people who don't know anything about it, will sort of draw them fully into this world in a very kind of complete way. It's been a real pleasure of the job to work with Javier, who I hadn't worked with or met before, but he's, a real joy. Very likable, so it hasn't been hard to be his friend in this. Even an action film, I think, is very dependent on, the relationships that you kind of care about, that you mind what happens to these people, and I think Javier is a huge part of that. It's been very exciting working with the team making this film. I feel like there's a lot of dedication, a lot of passion to make it right, a lot of attention to detail. Yes, as you say, the producers are really present. So in that way, it does feel like a proper sort of love letter to the sport. Lewis Hamilton's involvement has, I think, we wouldn't have been able to make the film without him, I would suggest, partly because he's been able to get us in and give us the access that we've had, and I think that's how will have a profound effect on the film, because to shoot it in and around and as I said, embedded in it is a very different thing than trying to sort of construct that somewhere else. I think the hardest thing to replicate is what it's really like trackside, what it's like in the cars, the speed, the intensity of this sport, the crowds. Definitely when that first scene that I shot at Silverstone, just having these banks of real crowd and the sort of noise that they made, just being able to sort of record and film in that is just like, that's gold. So yeah, and none of that would have been possible without Lisa.